Hello, thanks for being in a new video. This time we have unboxing the OPPO Find N5. We must begin. This device has just been announced in Mexico to the surprise of many because OPPO for a long time took the strategy of bringing to the Mexican market only mid-range devices. But since last year with the arrival of the OPPO Find X Pro showed something very positive, and now it is foldable, I think it can put to tremble a little more to Samsung and put more pressure. Obviously in the video review we will evaluate whether this price is positive or negative with respect to the whole experience that is able to give us this device. But for now, let's see what comes in its box and also know its specifications. We advance that the box is going to bring quite a lot of content because it is a relatively large box, but let's find out. We meet directly with the OPPO device. Right off the bat, it strikes me that the packaging comes with a light shade. Usually come with dark lenses or all this dark, even the backs, but look, it's just a small detail to take into account. And here it gives us the warnings of use on this folding device, which like all folding tells us not to remove the protective film that brings the screen. To avoid making pressure with sharp objects because we could surely get to mark the screen, it also says not to press hard on the raised areas, which I do not know specifically what area it means. Refers, but overall you don't have to press too hard on the screen. And then it says that it is normal that slight creases appear and some noises occur at the time of opening or closing the device. In this case, does not give us any warning against water because the device does have water resistance, so that's nothing to worry about. It is curious that it does not give us a warning against dust, although it is not specifically resistant to dust, but hey, let's take out. We will take this device out of this cover to get to know it a little closer. The truth is that it could easily become the best foldable of the year. But let's analyze it briefly in this case, and later in the review we will see more information. For now, what definitely draws attention is its thickness. It is currently the world's thinnest foldable. It has surpassed the Honor Magic V that at the time held the record with 9.2 millimeters thick. However, in this case it goes up to 8.93. Definitely that it is very thin, practically as thin as traditional format devices. But in a moment we continue talking about its specifications. For now, let's focus on the stuff that comes included in the box. First, we remove this sticker that comes attached and that's it. Now we are going to turn on the device, and while it is turning on we can see the contents of the box. Over here we come across the charger, which unlike Samsung does include it, so it's already a benefit to include charger in the box. But also in this case it is 80 watts. So it is much more powerful in terms of technical specifications than the 25 watts charger that Samsung supports. Obviously it doesn't always translate into faster charging time, so we'll test that later in the review, but for now, in terms of technical specs, it's more powerful. Let's see what else comes here in the box, again with light tones, and we're gonna find several things. It apparently comes with this cable from USB-A to USB-C. I think this is what could use some improvement because it doesn't give a feeling of such a modern product. If we still see USB-A present, then the charger does not have USB-C, but it comes with a good enough thickness for all the current. Remember to use the original cable if you want to enjoy the maximum power of the charger. Next we find quick start guides, paper slips, and the tool to remove the tray to put the SIM card. That's what comes here. And it also comes with a case. This is nice considering that Samsung, for example, forces you to buy the case separately, and note that in this case it's apparently going to come with this area that folds out. It's curious for the hinge part. So let's put the holster on to see more or less what the aesthetics would look like. Obviously the case will add a bit of thickness, but even with the case on it still feels like a pretty thin device. So OPPO goes for a very different case. Because most folding cases have two zones, one that protects the back cover without covering the hinge, but with another frame that sticks around the phone. The truth is that it looks pretty ugly when you use it like that. So OPPO's proposal seems interesting to me, adding a good level of protection to the hinge. It also has a soft touch similar to synthetic leather, very nice, and in this case, combining well with the color of the device. In fact, also on the edges of this case, you can appreciate a finish that looks metallic. I'm not sure if it is metal at this time, but it is definitely a case that adds a good level of protection. I'm going to use the case on the device to prevent it from getting damaged in some drops. In fact, I can't remove the case that easily. There, it looks like I finally got it off. It is quite complicated to remove the case, take that into account, because surely you could get to give you a little scary to be putting pressure on the screen to remove the case. Considering that it is a fairly thin device and the truth does feel a little scary, but I finally managed to remove the case. But taking the case on and off isn't something you're going to be doing constantly, so I don't consider it a big deal. I just removed it to do the thickness comparisons with other devices with and without a case. And then it's nice to have a case included in the box. And that would be pretty much all we see included in the box. Next, we're going to close this out again so we can focus entirely on the device and its specifications. I've already got the device turned on so we can get to know it, so let's start with this tour of its specs. When folded, it's only 8.93mm thick. To give you a little more of an idea, I brought up the iPhone 16 Pro Max, and note that without getting into very specific technical details. It has virtually the same thickness. It's amazing to see this level of thickness. Maybe you're a little bit fooled by seeing the frame split in half, but if we were to see it as one piece, the thickness is very similar. However, consider that, for example, on the iPhone, you have a much more limited screen space compared to all the space you get when you unfold this device. So the thickness is incredible. Another reference could be the Galaxy S25 Ultra. Note here that it also has a really very similar thickness. So we won't find considerable differences in thickness between this foldable device and these traditional form factor devices. It's amazing the thickness. This foldable took the crown from the Magic V honor as the world's thinnest foldable device. Here I brought in the Galaxy Z Fold 6, which is Samsung's newest foldable. I've removed the case so you can see the thickness comparison. Let's start with the hinge area, and I think it's clear that OPPO's device is much thinner. And if we go to this bottom view, we're going to confirm this that I'm telling you. The difference is abysmal. In Samsung, we find a thickness of 10.6mm, so it's almost 2mm difference. Definitely that you have to give kudos to OPPO for what they have achieved in this device. And if you consider the case on, note that while Samsung adds this space to place the S Pen without considering the protrusion of the S Pen storage, let's see the difference. Even with the case on, there is a very big difference between one and the other. So definitely that Samsung should be a little worried or nervous, at least with what OPPO is doing. Mind you, you have to consider that with the case on, it adds a sort of left bezel that I personally don't like. I think I would have preferred OPPO not to place this tab to protect the hinge. I understand that it adds a very good level of protection, but I was testing the OPPO Find N5. I dropped it many times, it got a little dented on the edges, but it was not a problem for me. It was never damaged, so I find this to be a bit unnecessary, and this size added to the left edge doesn't end up pleasing me very much. And again, I want to remove the case and we're already into another problem. No way. Done. I will use this device without a case because I find it retains a much nicer aesthetic and also has a weight of 229 grams. The Galaxy Z Fold 6 weighs 239, so it is 10 grams of difference, and believe me if you notice, and weighs only 2 grams more than the iPhone 16 Pro Max. It will be a lot more than the Galaxy Z Fold 6, which is surprising considering that it also has a very good camera system, has good battery life, and in this case you have much more space to work or watch videos. Definitely that OPPO has done an excellent job in terms of making this foldable device not perceived as a heavy and clunky device, but rather perceived as a traditional device, but with the capabilities of being foldable. The external screen has 662 inches in its diagonal, while the internal screen has 8 and 12 inches in its diagonal. In both cases, we are talking about screens with 120 Hz in its refresh rate and OLED technology. The resolution evidently that will be different. Outside we have Full HD, inside we have 2480 x 2248 pixels. The internal screen reaches a peak brightness of 2100 nits, while the external screen reaches a peak of 2450, although this is when you see HDR content. For practical and normal purposes, the screen will have about 600 nits in both cases, and note that the crease area is very well hidden. Obviously, if you see it against some reflection, if you can get to perceive it, but even to the touch, it feels very little present. And when you have the screen on, believe me, you forget about it. This device has two front cameras, both are 8 megapixels with f-aperture and fixed focus. And the internal front camera you are going to use mainly for video calls, but for selfies you are likely to use this front camera, external camera, or better yet the rear photo system, which would be the most recommendable. Look at the photo quality that, for example, the front camera would give us. In fact, it comes out very good. It is able to take pictures in XDR, so that is difficult to show it through the camera. But this area where in real life there was intense lighting also on the display. Camera is more brightly lit, so it gives you a very realistic feeling when viewing photos through this screen. And well, as you were seeing, even though in the preview it looks very burnt as it processes the photograph, it recovers several of the cloud textures in this case, and remember, you can use the rear photo system. For example, in this case with the ultra-wide camera, also the preview looks burnt, but then the resulting photograph looks very attractive and other. The cloud textures are very good, and in general the photography is of good quality, so it is excellent with respect to the rear photographic system. If you knew the previous one, which is the OPPO Find N3, you might be a little disappointed because the ultra-wide camera actually went down a notch. But it doesn't mean it's a bad camera. The ultra-wide camera is 8 megapixels with aperture f2.2. Autofocus, and here the surprise is that it has optical stabilization, usually the ultra camera. Why it does not have optical stabilization in devices and much less in foldable ones? But here I think that despite not having a high resolution sensor, the fact of having optical stabilization can play in its favor. Then we are going to find the main camera of 50 megapixels with f-aperture 1.8, autofocus and also optical stabilization, and finally the telephoto camera that has a 50 megapixel sensor. In this case, we will also find autofocus and stabilization. The optical zoom is 70 millimeters, that is about 3x optical zoom. Remember that it comes in collaboration with Hasselblad, so it has an exaggeratedly good image engine. Let's see some examples. Here we are looking at the ultra-wide camera photograph with the 15 millimeter setting. If you notice that it is 8 megapixels, so there is not as much detail as we would like, I think it is the weakest camera. It will surely get a lot of criticism starting with me because if it is perceived as a simple camera. Next is the main 23mm camera where you recover a lot of detail that the ultra-wide camera does not show. The image quality is very good, it marks the shadows well, the colors well, and everything looks very nice. Then you can apply a crop on the main camera to give the perspective of a 2x telephoto lens. In this case it seems to still maintain optical quality and looks good. Subsequently, we jump to 70 millimeters, which is the telephoto camera. It still looks very good. I like the good color balance it has between the three cameras. Then we get to 139 millimeters, which would be 6x zoom. And by applying a crop on the sensor, it's still able to give us very good image quality. Then watch. This is a photograph with 30x zoom, and the truth is that it looks very good. In fact, through artificial intelligence, we'll try to optimize the details so the result can be a bit variable depending on what you're taking a picture of. But note, the maximum zoom is 120x, and I insist that with artificial intelligence it tries to optimize the details. In fact, in this case, which is a flower, it looks very good, although faces at 60x zoom, for example, don't appear as detailed. So on objects it may work a little better, this artificial intelligence telescopic zoom, as OPPO calls it. But we'll do a bit more detailed testing later on. For now, I simply want you to see how you can double tap on these same buttons to switch between focal length settings in different ways. For video recording, we find 4K at 60 frames per second, but note that the ultra-wide camera is disabled, so that won't be available when you want to record in this quality. Again, demonstrating that the ultra-wide camera is the weakest point of this cell phone. With the front camera, you can record in 4K at 30 frames per second, so again, it is not as high quality as we would like in a high-end device, although in the folding is a bit normal to see front cameras that do not take advantage of everything as they should in a high-end device. By the way, the device also has stereo sound with one speaker below and one above, although it must be said that it does not have. The bass frequencies are very strong, so it is perceived as a sound that is not as high quality as we would like. I understand because it is an ultra-thin device, so I'm not going to get so picky in that regard, but it is a point that could be improved for next generations. The battery is 5,600 mAh, incredible for a device this thin. Surely it will be one of these silicon and carbon batteries that we will have to wait to test, Because in my test, the truth is that I have been able to see the battery in a very good condition. Is that these batteries have not lasted as long as they should. Normally they last like a smaller battery, but I insist let's wait to test it for now. In itself, it surprises a lot. It also supports 80 watts charging with charger included in the box, so it's definitely going to be too good. In addition, we will find 16 gigabytes of physical RAM with 512 gigabytes of internal storage. Everything you need as a good high-end device, without a doubt. And the processor is the Snapdragon 8 Elite, but in a 7-core version, that is, it has one less core than the normal edition. Possibly, this will also be a little controversial point. It will not be the most powerful device in the world, and among the flagships it will possibly fall a little short of power. But for the vast majority of people, the performance is going to be brutal. You definitely will not perceive this cell phone as something slow or anything like that, just that compared to others. Devices that have the 8-core Snapdragon 8 Elite, it's going to fall a little short. For example, here I have the Geekbench results. In single core, it got up to 2,710 points. Not bad because it uses its power core. And in multi-core, it reaches 7,575 points. Specifically in multi-core is where you can see that it can get to have less power than others who have the 8-core processor, but I insist, it has too much power. I think it will only be noticeable if you like to play content in the highest possible quality, with ray tracing and very complicated stuff. But in practical life, you're not going to notice that it's a bit less powerful than the 8-core version. Anyway, we'll make comparisons later. In Antutu, it scored 18,28,430 points, again showing that it's a bit less powerful than we expected. But it's not something that bothers me personally or anything like that. In fact, when I did the benchmarks, it didn't even warm up, so that's also an important point. Maybe the software manages a little bit of the power that this processor manages to avoid excessive heating. But this has been a first look at this foldable from OPPO. For the moment, we have reached the end of this video. If you liked it, you know you can tell us about it, and we'll see you next time.